Why should you play the Dutch? Well, the Dutch defense is an attacking opening system. Since it's an opening system, we're pretty much always going to be playing the same moves. Playing opening systems like this can really save time when it comes to opening study. They can also be very effective for beginners. But on top of being an opening system, it's an attacking system. So I would say the Dutch is for players who like simple attacking chess. So I want this video to be very comprehensive. I'll be covering literally everything you need to know to play the classical Dutch. I'll be teaching you the opening system, as well as the thematic attacking plans and how to launch them. Let's start by breaking down the Dutch defense move by move. So remember, we're playing an opening system. The Dutch defense, in fact, is an opening system you can play against everything but e4. If they play e4, we of course cannot play f5. That is a very dubious gambit. So if your opponent plays the English, you can play the Dutch. Your opponent starts with knight f3, g3, b3, literally anything that does not prevent f5, you can in fact play the Dutch defense against, and your attacking plans will be mostly the same. So with this in mind, the most common way you'll get into a Dutch is usually starting with d4, and then as the black player you play f5. And it's in this position that our opponent has a couple of sidelines that they can play for. Specifically, they have e4, the Staunton gambit, bishop to g5, the Hopton attack, as well as knight c3, this is the Raphael variation. These three variations, knight c3, e4, and bishop to g5, you won't run into too often until you get to the more advanced levels, but the next video I put out will be covering every single one of these sidelines. I'll probably call it something like how to beat every Dutch defense sideline. But what I wanted to tell you in this video is that you can avoid every single move to sideline, and you can do this by starting your Dutch defense with e6 instead. So say your opponent plays d4, you play e6, they play c4, and then you play f5. This move order allows you to sidestep those sidelines on move 2, but it does give your opponent the option to play to e4. This will forcibly transpose you into a French defense, so if you're not a French defense player, I wouldn't advise playing like this. So our opponent plays d4, we play f5, c4. The next move in our system is always going to be knight f6. After that, our next move is going to be e6. And it's here that I need to talk a little bit about the dark bishop in the Dutch defense. Our next move is going to be developing this dark bishop either to e7 or to b4. The rule for this is going to be if our opponent has their knight on c3, it is always going to be better to pin that knight. We want to pin the knight and then we want to capture it. And a lot of the times people will give us exactly what we want with a3. We capture with check, and then we completely blow up their queenside pawn structure. But let's look at some more examples. Say they play knight c3, we of course pin their knight, and then they play e3. I would still take the knight here. Again, the reason we're pinning the knight is because we would like to capture it. Ideally, we want it to ruin their pawn structure, and ideally we want to deliver it with check. That being said, we're also not in a hurry to capture it. Say they play bishop to d2. Here, we're in no rush to capture, we're not ruining their pawn structure, it's not coming with check, so we'll go ahead and castle. And then as soon as they play a3, queen b6, or move their knight, we'll of course capture. Let's go back to the beginning. So d4, we play f5, c4, knight f6 is our next move. Afterwards, we have e6, e3. Now it's time to develop our bishop. There's no knight on c3, so we'll develop to e7. And the next move in our system is going to be castling. So f5, knight f6, e6, develop your bishop, castle. This is how you're going to develop your kingside in the Dutch every single game. But the system is not done yet. The next piece that we need to think about developing is going to be our light bishop. So as white in the Dutch, the classical way to meet the Dutch, the way that's generally considered to be the most accurate, is by fianchettoing with g3 and then bishop g2. After all, this long diagonal is very weak, and a fianchettoed bishop is going to help them expand on the queen side. The thing is, if you're a beginner, or even really an intermediate level player, you're almost never going to see your opponent fianchettoing in the Dutch. And the Dutch is going to play very differently depending on whether or not your opponent does fianchetto, but I will be going over both types of middle games extensively. And the point is, in this position, if they don't fianchetto, you always want to fianchetto as your next move. After all, if we look at our light bishop, it's pretty trapped. We do have a plan to bring our light bishop out that I'll be showing you later. Remember that if your opponent does not fianchetto, you will always fianchetto. Say they castle, we fianchetto our bishop. And from here, I'll be going over the most common types of setups your opponent's going to go for. That way I can show you our attacking plans. And there's a very thematic move in the classical Dutch that we usually want to play very early, and that is knight e4. If we were playing the Stonewall Dutch, this would be a Stonewall knight, but rest assured they still cannot capture it. If they do, first of all, if they capture with knight, they're blundering a fork. But should they capture with their light bishop, we can just capture back with our f-pawn, and then after they retreat their knight, we can build a big center like this. The positions where your opponent's fianchettoed, this is going to absolutely annihilate their best piece. So remember, if they ever capture your quote-unquote Stonewall knight on e4, always capture back with the pawn. That way you can open up your rook, kick the knight on f3, which is an attacking player's worst enemy, and really lock down your opponent's pieces. Let's assume they know better and they don't capture your knight. Better instead is a move like queen c2, very thematic as white against the Dutch, creating this battery, and just like your bishop, you'll always want to trade for the knight on c3. Why are we doing this? First of all, remember, we really like the broken pawn structure on the queen side. Yes, we're giving them a half-open file, but we've already fianchettoed on this side, so that's really not going to hurt us. If they capture with queen, they're breaking their own battery. But most importantly, we have an opportunity here to capture their knight and then open up their king. This is a theme you should always be looking out for. Don't forget that Dutch defense is an attacking system where we're attacking on the king side. And with that in mind, let's look at another position. Let's say we pin their knight, bishop d2, we castle, a3, capture, capture. What would our next move here be? Well, did our opponent fianchetto? No, so we will e3, fianchetto, bishop e2, and now what do we play? Well, a move that should still be fresh on your mind is knight to e4. Whenever there's something to target on this square, it's usually a good idea to play this, combined with the fact that they can almost never capture it without opening up an attack on their king side. Queen c2. Like I said, it's always good to capture on c3. And here we can talk a little bit about the primary middle game plan you'll be playing for in the Dutch defense, and that is going to be d6, e5, playing for a pawn break in the center of the board. Obviously, this is a plan that a queen and bishop battery is going to put a stop to. That's one of the reasons it's so important to not allow that. Something else d6 does is it opens up the square for a knight to go ahead and develop to e4. Another plan you're going to see a lot of is going to be rotating your queen in by first moving it to e8 and then swinging it to the king side of the board after they castle, with the knight on e4, a fianchettoed bishop, and a queen on g6. Hopefully you can see the potential for an enormous kingside attack. One more thing to mention is a really useful prophylactic move you can play is king to h8. It's easy to forget that you have an exposed diagonal to your king, but it is something important to think about before you push e5. Let's go through an example middle game. Say they castle, we would start knight to d7, hoping to route to e4, b4 expanding on the queen side, we'll go knight f6, knight d2, and here we can either play knight e4, or we can go ahead and rotate our queen in. After all, our opponent doesn't have too much piece activity, they're kind of waiting on us. Let's talk about the next common setup we run into, playing the Dutch defense, and that's going to be when they start by attacking your knight. Once again, we're going to start e6, knight f3, there's no knight to pin, so bishop e7, knight c3, and castle. This is a very common setup that your opponents will go for. First thing to note, there's not a fianchettoed bishop, so we'll start by fianchettoing, bishop e2, we'll fianchetto, and castle. So what moves should we be considering here? Well, let's think about our plans. We can either play d6, preparing to play e5 and opening up a square for our knight. We can start with knight e4, getting ready to trade our knight. Or another reasonable option, I think, would be queen to e8, getting ready to come to the king side with our queen. But overall, to me, the most natural move here is definitely knight to e4, considering there's a target on c3. Say they capture, and then capture. We've now opened up our rook. You should remember the move here is d5, they'll usually capture. And an important thing to note is don't worry about blocking in your light bishop in the Dutch. After all, your light bishop in the Dutch is usually terrible anyways, you can imagine the stone wall. But here we would want to get our knight into the game, and then almost definitely go for some kind of rook lift. The next setup we'll be covering from white is probably the most important to know for beginners, and that is going to be the London setup versus the Dutch defense. We of course start knight f6, e3, e6, knight f3, there's no knight on c3, so we'll play bishop e7, bishop d3, castle, knight bd2, they didn't fianchetto, so we will. c3, finishing their London pawn structure. We fianchetto our bishop, and they castle. First thing to note, when your opponent plays really passively, a really good pawn break to look out for is c5, but in terms of our normal Dutch plans, e4 looks ripe for a knight, and should they play queen c2, threatening to capture our knight, we can play d5 for a proper stonewall knight, and if they play knight e5, we'll of course trade it off. So you can stick to most of the same plans against the London system. The other way that London players can try to get an advantage against you is the very aggressive early queen c2. Since they now have 3 attackers on the e4 square, we can't play knight e4, and then their idea after queen c2 is usually going to be castling along. This may be annoying for us positionally, but considering our opponent isn't actually threatening anything, this can be an excellent opportunity to play c5. Then we can actually develop our knight behind our c-pawn. These middle games tend to be very fun. You'll want to open up lines on their side of the board and go for a big attack. The next line I'd like to cover is the most common line in the Anglo-Dutch defense. That is when you play the Dutch defense against the English opening, and usually the way this plays out is they play for an early g3, We of course play e6, fianchetto, bishop e7 and bishop b4 are perfectly reasonable here. I like bishop b4 because it's still fairly likely to transpose. Afterwards they'll play e3 and develop their other knight to e2, castle short. If they give us the opportunity to ruin their pawn structure, we'll of course do it. Something you'll realize in the Dutch is when you're a beginner, you're usually playing for a checkmate in the middle game in the Dutch, because your opponents won't be very good at defending yet. But when you get to the more advanced level, the Dutch kind of turns into this weapon where occasionally, yes, you get the big kingside attack, you get the cool checkmate, but more often instead of that, the Dutch is just a reliable, solid system, and the endgames you'll find yourself getting into, where they have doubled c-pawns, tend to be very, very comfortable for us, and we're almost always playing for a win. But what if they don't concede the doubled pawns, and instead play the more accurate queen c2? queen c2, we castle, and a3. We'll grab the knight like we always do. We're not going to Fianchetto because they already did. Instead, knight e4 looks pretty reasonable. d6 looks reasonable, queen e8 looks reasonable, but from this point, I'd like to go ahead and start talking about how to attack the Fianchetto structure in the classical Dutch. When your opponent Fianchettos their light bishop against the Dutch defense, they're technically playing the opening correctly, which means we get to play the classic attacking system that the classical Dutch is known for. So what is that system? Remember earlier when I said I have a plan to free up this bishop? Well, here's that plan. What we're going to do is we're going to start with d6, afterwards we're going to bring our queen over to the h5 square, we're going to push e5 and then f4, opening up our bishop, trading off their good bishop, as well as removing the defender from the light squares around our opponent's king, and then in a perfect world, knight g4 and checkmate. Let's play some example moves. Our opponent hasn't stopped e5, so we'll go ahead and play it, but it's also perfectly fine to swing your queen out first. Our opponent plays d3, we play queen e8, a castle, queen h5, bishop g5. Afterwards, we'll complete our development with knight c6. If they capture, we can rook lift, and then we can play f4. And there are all sorts of threats starting to open up here on our opponent. The final line I'm going to be covering is the most difficult to deal with for black. That's going to be when white plays in the style of a Catalan with g3 and a Fianchetto light bishop, where we have no opportunity to pin their knight, and then we both castle. Our opponent Fianchettoed, so we will not. Instead, knight e4, d6, queen e8, all pretty good moves. Here, I would probably start with d6 because there's not a target on c3 yet, but after knight c3, I would certainly play knight e4. As far as the Dutch goes, this variation tends to be very drawish, but our plans overall are going to stay the same. First of all, if they capture, we'll capture back and push d5, just like we always do, blunting their bishop, but assuming they don't, which most people won't, we'll capture on c3 like we always do. Afterwards, we can go ahead and play queen e8, getting ready to play for the exact same ideas. Final thing to note is the move a5. In the Dutch, you're generally attacking on the king side, meanwhile your opponent is usually attacking on the queen side. This usually isn't too big of a concern of yours. After all, if they win on the queen side, they get a passed pawn, but if you win on the king side, you just get checkmate, right? But sometimes it is necessary to slow down their counterplay on the queen side, and a5 can be a really great way to do that. For example, if they push a3, a5 can be a great way to prevent b4. Don't forget to leave a like if you found this video helpful. Also, this is the first video in my easy peasy repertoire, where my focus is on two things. First, playing fun attacking chess, and second, playing openings that are easy to learn and explain in simple terms. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the one linked on screen right now.